Hello, everyone. Phil Turek here. A lot to cover today. This is Thursday, June 12th, 2025. I'm mostly going to be talking about the new news regarding the Declaration of Independence, but also I have to touch on some current events like what's going on here in the LA, Orange County area, and upcoming events like this Saturday's No Kings Day rally. All right, stand by. In the future, there will be a vibrant, self sustaining human civilization on Mars. The high road to Mars is one built on a foundation of gracious professionalism, the bedrock ethos of the first robotics competition. The earthbound dreamers of today, who are working to open the high road to a future Martian civilization, are the ancestors of tomorrow's Martians. I'm Phil Turek, one such ancestral Martian. Look at what I'm trying to do by creating simulated Martian cultural ambassadors to act as positive social influencers to somewhat depolarize society here in the United States. Imagine how much even better it would be if the United States were to bring real Martian ambassadors here. Okay, here we go. Turns out I didn't hit the record button second time. So, my second time going through this. Declaration of Independence. Big deal for me. The original one. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That was so sacred to me. I remember writing it once in a letter to someone I was corresponding to who lived in a different country. And I just wanted to impress upon her that, these are the values that we have here in the United States and that, I live by. So, what's going on? For life, and this is from actually something I wrote for our school board once. So, life, right? Life in the United States has expanded. It was around 35 years was the average life expectancy when the United States government was first founded in 1790-ish. Now, on this graph, it starts at 1900, and there's a dip due to the Spanish flu in 1918 that takes it down to about 35 years of age. So if you imagine extending this graph about equally far to the left, 110 years to the left, then its starting point is about where that dip is on this part of the graph. So pretty flat for a long time. But what happened over time, particularly over the past 110, 20 years? Well, public health. We build hospitals. We have, urgent centers. We have doctors who can travel around with their bags when I was a kid, or you go to the urgent center now. We have sanitation that has improved tremendously. We now know that you need to have clean drinking water, or, things are going to happen. We also have medical advances like crazy. I'm a cancer survivor. A long time ago now, what, more than 10 years ago, I had my surgery and had my chemo, and I don't even do that stuff anymore. I'm as good as everyone else my age that I know are also cancer survivors. So, you know, it works. Now, it's gone down in recent times, partly because of COVID, but there are regional differences as well. And I just want to touch on that for a moment. So, a couple things. Compared to the rest of the industrialized world, we are terrible. We spend more money than they do. We have shorter lifespans than they do. Why is that? Some reasons we can't really disagree with. Like, geographically, we are bigger than any one of those other countries. So we spend more time on the road going from point A to point B. So therefore, there's more road accidents than for a tiny country. Another factor is we have many more guns per person in our country that we use on other people. So there goes life expectancy. And, add the drugs, add this and that. And there's some things we can control, some things we should control, some things like geography that we don't really control. Okay. There's the links. I'm trying to put them where you can see them on the slides where I'm getting my sources from instead of waiting to the end. Okay, my favorite organization, Nationhood Lab. They realized that when the United States was created, it wasn't all one nation under God. It was actually a federation of different core groups, 11 different major ones they've identified. So the First Nation group, like in Alaska, are the Native Americans. And then there's each of these different groups, New France, Spanish Caribbean, Tidewater, Deep South. Let's pick Yankeedom, where I'm from, founded by Puritans who believed that government was a work in progress, that people needed to be involved with it to create ever better good government. And the Deep South was founded by people who had no experience with the central government. They had the Duke or the Lord of the Manor who made all the decisions, and you worked for him, and you had no say, you had no rights, unless he gave you a privilege to do something. So totally different views of government. And, in the Deep South, the Greeks had slaves, the Romans had slaves. So it's natural that the landowners have the slaves and the slaves have no rights whatsoever. What's different between the Romans and the Deep South of the U.S. is that the Romans and the Greeks had an exit time for slavery, and children born of slaves were automatically free. In the U.S., children born of slaves were automatically slaves, and there was no exit path from slavery in the United States. So big difference in there. It led to what? A civil war in the United States between those two different subgroups. All right, yikes. So the United States, if you go like this chart here is just showing the differences in life expectancy because of those different cultural values of the different founding nations that went into the United States. And you could look at other graphs that they have there, and it's fascinating how distinct it is. Now, this is smoothed out by region, but they have it down to the county level if you want to see what color your county is for different parameters. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So, thanks to science, life has increased in the United States. Liberty. Well, okay. As Frederick Douglass pointed out, there are many kinds of slavery, many kinds of freedom. Being literate, reading is still the path from slavery to freedom. I mean, think about it. When Nelson Mandela was in a jail cell, he could still read a book. And that book can take you anywhere in space and time. Different universe, alternate reality. Books. You're in the mind of some author who maybe was dead 1,000 years or 2,000 years already, and you're getting the thoughts that they express. That's freedom, right? You could be shackled physically and still have your freedom mentally if you are literate. Okay, so life, liberty, and finally the pursuit of happiness. When I wrote this document for the school board before I retired, I referred to the requirements to get out of high school. So study this, and you can see the story goes like this. Once upon a time, there was a couple who hated the children that they gave birth to. So they just locked the kids up in the closet. Eventually, years later, child services came and rescued the kids and put the adults in jail. Then came the discovery that those kids who'd spent their lives locked up in a closet were unable to learn to read or write or even talk well. Their brains were not initially stimulated, and it became a lost cause to try to stimulate them later in life to learn anything. So this is why we have all these graduation requirements. This is what I've told my students over the years, that you need to stimulate your English skills, your math skills, your foreign language skills, your dance skills, this, that, there's the list, so that you are enabled to go and pursue whatever you want to pursue the rest of your life. You want to become a rocket scientist? Take math, take, science. You want to become a ballerina? You want to become da, 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 da. Okay. That's why this is what I show for the pursuit of happiness. It's the literacy, the education that goes to empowering you. Education is the one thing they can never take away from you. Hmm? All right. Now, my favorite group, the Nationhood Lab, the ones with those color-coded graph of the U.S. They've been aware for a long time that the Declaration of Independence has kind of become threadbare. Maybe all this business that's going on today shows that we are breaking apart. We're no longer a United States. The divisions are so deep. They're irreconcilable differences now. So they've been doing research the past couple of years, shopping around, trying to find a new national narrative. And here's the study that they released, their final report that was released in March of this year, 2025. Green is good. And that's great because it shows overall, across all these different subgroups, the different races, the different genders, the different education, the different ages, different political parties, it's still the Declaration of Independence core values that are more important than your own little sub-nation's history and kinship and bloodlines and cultural values. That is the best news I've gotten in years, and it's just excellent for my Mars project because I'm trying to reunite the United States through my Mars project. And green here shows most US people still want the ideals of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That is what I wanted. And now this has vindicated well, I don't know, vindicated. It has assured me that I'm not alone, that actually the majority want this, not tribal linkages. Okay, so go to their website, go to the final report. It's like 12 pages. If you want, you can scroll down to the punchline, which is where they revise the wording of the Declaration of Independence, trying to make it 21st century. I here's big punchline. You have to choose. Is it that you want? Uh, hmm, Actually, this slide doesn't show it, but it does show that most people, look, 82% plus 15% on the one side of strongly and somewhat agree that it's our job to protect one another's rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That's excellent. That's different from what current events are. I'll get to it. Again, take their final report, condense it down to just a few words in your own wording to show on a slide. Here's what I came up with, right? We're not U.S. is not defined by bloodlines or religion. Sorry, guys, or history that says, oh, it's all whitewashed, but to a set of ideals: life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. We all have rights to survive, not be tyrannized. Okay, you can read. And by the way, they found out that there is a subgroup, the people who voted for Biden, the MAGA group, who prefers, or Christian nationalists who prefer slightly different wording. So tyrannized is preferred by them versus the other wording that they show in their alternate version of this. So they actually have two versions of an updated Declaration of Independence. Great. Now I know I was going to say something important. Forgot already. Do I have notes? No. Maybe it'll come back. Lest it perish from the earth. Okay? That wording is still in there. Nice. Again, two different flavors they had. So you could refer to Frederick Douglass, Abraham Lincoln, Martin Luther King Jr. You could refer to Selma or Stonewall Or there was another one that deals basically at the Washington Mall, let's say. So that's like the liberal group likes those references, and the conservative group likes references to Valley Forge and the beaches of Normandy. Okay, so again, two varieties. You pick one that matches what you want to express and who your audience is. I'm in an environment where my audience is basically conservative MAGA types surrounding me. All right, more good news from that same final report. The research shows if you're far left and you're far right, what you have in common is that both of you still cherish the ideals of the Declaration of Independence. You're just frustrated for different reasons. The progressives and liberals are frustrated because of how slowly it's being implemented. We still have a racial caste system throughout the Deep South. It's still there. And the conservatives, this is a little harder for me to grasp, but they're worried that the middle managers and the bureaucrats are the ones who are creating ever more red tape, boxing you in, so you have no freedom to do anything anymore. Oh, it's a totalitarian state. You have to do what they tell you to do. My experience is like my mom, along with everyone else that I've ever known, hates red tape. So I don't think the bureaucrats really want to create red tape. It's coming from the top down. And right now, our top down, leader number 47, is all in on destroying liberty, destroying freedom, and creating a totalitarian state. And that leader views the civil servant class as the deep state that needs to be eradicated. That these are the people who are blocking his agenda. Now, from my point of view, I've put this in other videos, the civil service class are the ones who are just following their moral compass. That's, and our current leader 47 doesn't have a functioning moral compass, so hence the conflict. Okay, so, all right, past events. Here's how many times someone counted that our current leader has made these claims about immigrants. Oh, they're criminals, they're snakes that bite, they're poisoning our blood, they're from mental institutions and jails. Oh, look at the eating pets. You know how that started? One woman in Springfield, Ohio, couldn't find her cat. And she posted that on Neighborhood or Watch, Next Door, whatever it was. Whoa, that became political cannon fire that said, oh, those Haitian immigrants are eating cats and dogs. Never mind that no one reported the missing dog. And that we need to eradicate those guys. Well, she found her cat a few days later. Does that change the narrative? No, no, because it's so rich of a political thing to build a tribe with. You must divide. We can't be people of ideals that say, we were giving shelter to those poor Haitian immigrants who were being tyrannized in Haiti by gangs. We gave them refuge. No, no, no. That's not the narrative. The narrative is our tribe must be pure blood. Oh, wow. So, now, that's past events. And the people who have absorbed this, repeat it enough times, your brain gets wired that way. Research shows that. There's no coming back to reality for them anytime soon. At least what I perceive as reality. Now, current events. This is exciting for me. For the first time in my life, I actually went and got a political sign and I stuck it up in my yard. And it's different from other yards around here. Well, one of my neighbors actually called me up, chatted with me. We discussed it for a while. And although you can never be certain which way a person votes, I have been led to believe that that person was swayed by our discussion and decided to vote the same way as me. So, if true, that means for the first time in my life, I've influenced someone's vote to go the same way I did. And here's the yard sign. Ta-da! Yes, on A and B. And we found out a day or two later, because the special election was this past Tuesday. Today's Thursday. We found out yesterday that uh, the measures passed, which is what I was advocating for, that the library is knowledge for all, that children should not be led to believe that being literate is bad, that reading is bad. No, 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 no. And that's what the no's were kind of advocating. Say, oh, we need to be scared of what's in our library. We need to protect our kids from what they might read in there. Oh, reading is terrible. Stay illiterate so that we can control you better. All right. So, upcoming events. Oh, what have we got? Or current. Again, if you're part of a Martian government or civilization that's trying to establish a Martian government up there, here's a little thing to fix. Fact checking is disabled for our own leader because they can claim without proof that it's a classified source of information. And in the name of national security, they can't tell you how they know that all these cats and dogs are being eaten. Oh no, that's a national security. I can't tell you how we know that. So that's terrible for a leader who just makes stuff up every day to get the highest ratings. Oh, I'm going to have a parade. Oh, you don't like that I'm doing it on my birthday? Oh, it's to celebrate that the Army's anniversary date. Oh, look at that nice $400 million jet that they offered to me. Well, okay, so fact check, they didn't offer it to him. He asked for it. That's different, right? So, gosh, fact checking needs to be non disabled for a leader. And that's a tough one when it comes to classified national security stuff. How is it going to be fact checked? Martians, figure it out. More good news from this week over on the BBC. They published an article about how much change, how much of the population needs to be actively involved to actually successfully make a change. And right now in LA, there are violent protests. Why? You might ask. Because, from my point of view, it's our leaders' eager desire to declare martial law. But to do that, he has to do a few steps. He has to tyrannize and agitate and provoke fear so much that people start protesting violently. And therefore, that's the excuse he needs to declare martial law. Okay, that's an obvious plan. And this guy's, for some things, he's pretty transparent about what he thinks and feels and does. So, this is what he thinks and feels and does. He wants to declare martial law so he can suspend elections, so he will never have to leave office again in his lifetime. Nice. But some skeptic did some research and, to her surprise, working with others, analyzing using criteria they established for as far back as they could dig, that if you engage in nonviolent protest and you get at least 3.5% of the population to actively work with you, and you do this on a reasonable time scale, you have a 50-ish% chance of successfully implementing change. On the other hand, if you do violent protests, like what's going on, current events in LA, only like 25, 26% chance of success. And there's all that destruction and bad karma that goes with the violent change. So it's not a good way to go. And our current leader, I believe, was correctly quoted once by, I think, Bernstein, one of the investigators of the Watergate, who reported that Leader 47 once claimed, "Fear is power." I mean, that certainly seems consistent with everything he's trying to do. Every time there's a report on the news where people say, "Oh, now our students are living in fear because they might, see a raid going on in their classroom." Well, that makes his heart go pitter patter with joy. He wants power. He feels fear is the way to power. All right, so what's coming up? No, King's Day is in 2 days. His birthday, the Army Parade, Washington, D.C. To counter that, there are rallies being proposed throughout the United States to try to start planting the seeds for that 3.5% active particip- participation that we need for change. And my wife was brought to tears, was being distraught with current events on the news about what the federal government is doing to try to tyrannize the Angelinos into, becoming radicalized, violent protesters. I mean, you have to look back enough in time to see, oh, it's not that, Democratic governor and mayors doing terrible things. No, it's that the federal government went out of their way as part of their simple plan. Radicalize immigrants so that we can declare martial law claiming it's invasion and an insurrection, and therefore we can do away with free and fair elections from now on. Simple plan. What you see here is what my wife on the left and I on the right are choosing to create as signs for this Saturday's rally here in Huntington Beach. So for her, King Jr., Martin Luther King Jr., yes. King leader number 47, no. And love trumps fear. Now her signage looks beautiful. This is just my crude way of showing you the idea. Her sign is going to have a heart instead of the letter O, and right now she's off buying glossy paper just right to print it off with. Mine's the one on the right, and again, mine comes really from the Nationhood Lab, except I use the term MAGA when they refer to the people who are just inclined to look at everything through bloodlines and tribal beliefs and stuff. So the USA is founded on ideals. The tribe believes, for example, history has to be distorted for that. Again, the lies. Say it over and over and over again. People believe it. Oh yeah, we're making America great again. Well, when was it great exactly, and in what respect? Because it's been these different groups. Was it great when it was Yankeedom? Was it great when it was Deep South? Because they weren't the same. But MAGA is trying to whitewash the actual complex history of the United States and say, no, no, no. It was all these white Christian nationalists, and there was no, other viewpoints. It was this one religion, this one culture, this one, wow, set of values, one history, none of which is what the United States actually was or is. And I choose USA. And then on the back, the wording that is favored by the religious group and the conservative group, human right to not be tyrannized. All right, I have to go. I got stuff to do. This is exciting news for me. I hope this time the recording got correctly recorded. Yeah, it shows it's recording. And we'll see where it goes from here. All right, have a great day.